Picture this. You're sitting at this heavy, weathered wooden table outside.
Oh, I can already picture it.
Right. There's this warm evening breeze, and just a few yards away, the sun is setting over the bright turquoise waters of the Mediterranean.
Perfect setting.
Yeah, and your glass is full, the air smells like sea salt and roasting garlic, and right in front of you is a steaming dish of moussaka.
Oh, wow.
It's glistening with olive oil and fresh herbs. The top is perfectly golden, and when you take that first bite, I mean, it is smoky, creamy, rich, absolute magic.
It really is. That kind of meal, it completely anchors you in time and place. It's not just dinner, you know.
Yeah.
It's an experience of history, geography, and agriculture all arriving on a single plate.
It is absolute culinary perfection. But then the daydream fades, and you snap back to reality.
Back to the Tuesday night kitchen.
Exactly. You are standing in your own kitchen on a Tuesday night, staring at a raw eggplant on your cutting board. And you're remembering that one time you tried to chop it up for a quick stir fry and ended up chewing on something that tasted like a bitter, rubbery, oil-soaked kitchen sponge.
The classic weeknight eggplant disaster. We have all been there.
It's the worst. So today's deep dive is sparked by a piece of research that crossed my desk with a highly clinical, honestly rather robotic title. It's called Eggplant Mediterranean Favorite Podcast Script EV2.doc6.
Very catchy.
Super catchy, but behind that dry file name is actually a wild, centuries-long saga. Our mission today is to rescue the eggplant or the aubergine, depending on where you're listening from its reputation as this difficult, bitter vegetable.
Which is so needed.
Yeah.
Because it is the ultimate culinary whiplash. The gap between a perfectly executed Mediterranean eggplant dish and that Tuesday night disaster is incredibly wide.
So why?
And that's because it's a vegetable that demands to be understood on a structural level, like treating it like a zucchini or a bell pepper. That just guarantees failure.
It really reminds me of that one specific friend we all have.
Oh, how so?
Well, you know, when you first meet them, they seem incredibly misunderstood. They're guarded, maybe a little prickly, and definitely hard to read.
Right.
And you clash a bit because you're trying to interact with them the same way you interact with everyone else. But once you actually figure out how to communicate with them, once you put in the effort to understand what makes them tick, they become your absolute most fiercely loyal favorite person. That is the eggplant.
I love that. That's exactly it. But to truly understand this guarded, misunderstood friend, we have to look at its botanical and historical origins.
Right, because it wasn't always hanging out in Greece.
Not at all. And the modern kitchen frustration you just described, that is nothing compared to the absolute terror humanity felt toward it when it first started traveling the globe.
Terror.
Yeah.
Seriously, because when I'm eating that moussaka by the ocean, I naturally assume the eggplant is native to Greece or Italy.
Most people do. But looking at the botanical records, its roots are thousands of miles away from the Mediterranean.
Where did it actually start?
The wild ancestors of this plant originated thousands of years ago in ancient India and China. It wasn't until much later that it began to migrate.
So how did it get to Europe?
Traders, travelers, and conquering armies basically carried it along the Silk Road. They slowly introduced it into the Middle East, and from there, it eventually crossed into the Mediterranean.
But it wasn't exactly a hero's welcome when it finally arrived in Europe in the Middle Ages, right? Like, people were absolutely terrified of it.
Oh, completely terrified.
The historical texts from the source document show that Italians didn't just dislike it, they branded it mela insana, which translates directly to the mad apple.
What's fascinating here is that the cultural paranoia surrounding this vegetable was intense, but it wasn't entirely unfounded.
Wait, really? It wasn't just superstition?
No, because botanically, the eggplant is a berry that belongs to the nightshade family.
Ah, nightshades.
Yeah. And nightshades include some highly toxic, hallucinogenic, and literally deadly plants like belladonna and mandrake.
Okay, so when a dark, strange, bitter new fruit arrives from a distant land, the immediate assumption was that it contained those same dangerous alkaloids.
Exactly. They assumed it was poison.
The belief was that eating it caused intense fever and literal insanity. So, okay, let's unpack this. How on earth did humanity bridge the gap between believing a vegetable causes literal madness to layering it lovingly into a staple Mediterranean moussaka?
Well, it came down to centuries of culinary persistence and cross-cultural observation. As Mediterranean cooks slowly engaged with it, they likely watched how traders from the Middle East handled it.
Like learning their techniques?
Right. They saw the aggressive spicing, the slow cooking down, the techniques used to mask or extract that sharp defensive bitterness.
They realized it wasn't actually making anyone insane.
Exactly. They realized the plant wasn't causing madness. It was just aggressively unpalatable if you didn't know the specific thermodynamic and chemical rules to break it down.
And that slow, methodical domestication didn't just change our recipes. It fundamentally altered the plant's genetics.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
As farmers selectively bred out that intense bitterness and selected for better textures, they created a massive, highly specialized family tree of eggplants all over the world.
So we aren't all eating the exact same plant today.
Not even close. The genetic diversity we have today is staggering, and it entirely dictates the culinary application. Most consumers picture one very specific monolithic vegetable when they hear the word eggplant. But we are really looking at an art gallery of distinct varieties, each engineered for a specific purpose.
Let's walk through that gallery because understanding the genetics fundamentally changes how you approach cooking it.
We should.
So the standard is the American globe. That's the classic, heavy, glossy purple monolith you see stacked in every grocery store. It's dense, it has a thick skin, and it holds a massive amount of water in its cellular matrix.
Right. Now, contrast that with the Japanese and Chinese varieties. Genetically, these were cultivated to be long and slender with incredibly delicate skins.
They almost look like purple cucumbers.
Yeah, they do. And because their carbohydrate storage is different, their flesh is significantly sweeter and breaks down much faster under heat.
Okay, and then you have Thai eggplants, which are tiny, spherical, and green.
Which is so different from what people expect.
Yeah, and their cell walls contain higher amounts of structural pectin, which makes them perfect for adding actual crunch to curries. I'll admit, crunch is a textural profile I never associated with eggplant until I looked into the botanical makeup of the Thai variety.
Right. It completely flips your expectations.
And finally, the Italian or graffiti eggplants. They're characterized by those striking purple and white stripes, which offer a creamier texture somewhere between the globe and the Asian varieties.
And the crucial takeaway for anyone cooking at home is that the physical structure dictates the function. Like, a delicate, sweet Japanese eggplant will just turn to absolute mush if you try to bread and deep fry it like a dense American globe.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Using a massive watery globe eggplant in a quick, delicate Thai stir-fry is like trying to use a heavy wool blanket to soak up a kitchen spill instead of a paper towel.
That is a great way to put it.
Right. The material is just fundamentally wrong for the task.
Yeah.
Matching the specific cellular structure of the eggplant to the cooking method is half the battle won before you even turn on the stove.
Oh, for sure. That structural diversity is fascinating, but there is a profound biochemical through line that connects almost all of them, particularly the varieties that share that deep purple pigmentation.
Oh, the purple skin. Because that deep, glossy purple of the American globe or the striking stripes of the graffiti aren't just an aesthetic feature.
Not at all.
The botanical research in the source reveals that the pigmentation itself is the delivery mechanism for the eggplant's most significant health benefits.
The skin is a biochemical goldmine. That striking purple color is the visual manifestation of a highly potent antioxidant called nosunin.
Yes.
Right. Nosunin is a highly specific type of anthocyanin, which is the same class of pigments that give blueberries and blackberries their color. But it is uniquely concentrated in the peel of the eggplant.
See, we hear the word antioxidant thrown around constantly in health marketing, often without any explanation of what it is actually oxidizing.
Sure.
So what is nosunin physically doing inside the body?
Well, it is actively seeking out and neutralizing free radicals to prevent a process called lipid peroxidation.
Okay, let's break that down.
Sure. So your cells have an outer membrane that regulates what gets in and out. That membrane is largely made of lipids or fats.
Right, lipids.
And free radicals are unstable molecules missing an electron. They are notoriously aggressive. They will literally rip electrons away from the lipids in your cell membranes to stabilize themselves.
Which damages or destroys the cell.
Exactly.
And the brain is particularly vulnerable to this because brain tissue is incredibly rich in lipids.
Precisely. Protecting those specific fats from oxidation is critical for long-term cognitive health and preventing neurodegeneration.
So nosunin steps in.
Yeah, nosunin acts as a targeted molecular shield. It willingly donates an electron to those free radicals, neutralizing the threat without becoming unstable itself. So it's specifically protecting the lipid membranes in your brain cells.
Wait, I have to push back here.
Go ahead.
If the skin is this localized gold mine of brain-protecting methionine, why do almost all classical French and Italian recipes instruct you to aggressively peel the eggplant before cooking it? Are we just throwing away the shield for the sake of texture?
Well, historically, yes, we were.
Really?
Yeah. Older, uncultivated varieties had skins that were incredibly tough and held incredibly high concentrations of bitter, defensive compounds. Peeling was a culinary necessity just to make the flesh palatable.
Oh, okay.
But modern agricultural breeding has given us varieties with much thinner, far less bitter skins. So today, peeling a high-quality eggplant is largely an outdated practice. You can preserve the texture and keep the nasunin.
That makes perfect sense. And the benefits don't stop at the skin, do they?
No, the flesh itself is an absolute powerhouse for metabolic regulation. It is a dense matrix of dietary fiber that fundamentally alters how your body processes a meal.
Because it physically slows down the absorption of carbohydrates in your digestive tract.
Exactly, which prevents those rapid spikes and crashes in blood sugar. Combining that high fiber content with an inherently low caloric density and a very low glycemic index creates a metabolic ideal.
So it provides satiety and stabilizes energy levels without triggering a massive insulin response.
Right. And then you throw in the high concentrations of potassium, copper, and magnesium, which regulate nerve signaling and intracellular hydration. It is just a remarkably efficient nutritional package.
I understand the biochemistry, but this creates a massive paradox.
The grand paradox of the eggplant.
Right. If this vegetable is an inherently low-calorie, high-fiber, metabolically stabilizing superfood, why does a dish like eggplant parmesan often feel like you just ate a greasy brick?
It is phenomenally healthy in its raw state, but its physical architecture makes it a thermodynamic magnet for fat when heat is introduced.
And the reason eggplant dishes often end up heavy, soggy, or saturated in oil comes down entirely to its internal geometry.
Geometry is the perfect word for it.
Because if you look at the raw flesh of an American globe under a microscope, it doesn't look like solid tissue. It looks like a complex, highly porous honeycomb,
Yeah, it is mostly comprised of large intracellular vacuoles.
which are basically just big air pockets.
Exactly. Massive air pockets surrounded by water. It is an incredibly light, spongy structure. The disaster happens when you take that raw, porous geometry and drop it directly into a hot pan of oil.
Because the heat causes the water inside those cells to instantly vaporize into steam.
Right. And as that steam escapes, the rigid structure of the vacuoles collapses in on itself, creating a microscopic vacuum.
And then capillary action takes over immediately.
It's instantaneous. That vacuum aggressively sucks in whatever liquid is surrounding it to fill the void. If it is sitting in a pan of olive oil, it will drink up an astonishing volume of fat in a matter of seconds.
The entire honeycomb structure becomes fully saturated, heavy, and structurally compromised. You essentially deep fry a sponge from the inside out.
That is exactly what's happening.
So what does this all mean? The ultimate question for the home cook is, how do we defeat the capillary action? The culinary consensus in our source document gives us a very specific, non-negotiable technique, the salt purge.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, attempting to cook a dense eggplant without a salt purge is basically culinary sabotage. You are actively altering the physical state of the vegetable before heat is ever introduced.
The execution is simple, right? You slice the eggplant into rounds or cubes, lay them out on a wire rack, and cover the exposed flesh generously with coarse salt.
Yep.
Then you step away for 20 to 30 minutes. What is happening during that window is purely mechanical.
It is the physics of osmosis. The high concentration of salt on the exterior creates an isotonic imbalance. The water trapped deep inside the eggplant's cellular honeycomb is drawn across the semi-permeable cell membranes.
It's pulled to the surface to dilute the salt and achieve equilibrium.
Exactly.
So when you return to the cutting board, the surface of the eggplant is covered in dark, pooled beads of moisture. That water is carrying away the water-soluble phenolic compounds.
Which is that lingering chemical bitterness the plant uses to defend itself.
Right. But more importantly, you have fundamentally changed the internal geometry.
By drawing the water out, you have manually collapsed those spongy air pockets.
Right.
The honeycomb has been compressed. The vacuum has been preemptively destroyed.
Then you take a paper towel and aggressively pat those slices completely dry, wiping away the salt and the bitter water.
You have to make sure it's dry.
Yeah. So think of the raw eggplant like a waterlogged sponge you use to wipe up a dirty spill. If it is already full of bitter vegetable water, it can't hold anything else.
Right.
And if you drop it in oil, the vacuum just replaces the evaporating water with grease. The salt mechanically wrings out the sponge, collapses the holes, and primes the cells.
And so when you finally introduce that purged eggplant to a hot pan, capillary action cannot occur because the structure is already compressed?
It can't act like a sponge anymore.
No. Instead of acting like a sponge, the surface undergoes the Maillard reaction.
Yeah.
The amino acids and sugars caramelize. It absorbs just enough of the olive oil and marinades to become rich and buttery, while the exterior achieves a crisp golden sear.
A little bit of applied physics turns a greasy disaster into a melt-in-your-mouth masterpiece.
It really does.
And once you master that purge, the applications open up entirely. You can char the eggplants whole over an open flame, letting the skin blister and protect the flesh while it steams in its own juices. That gives you a smoky, silky baba ganoush.
Oh, so good.
Or you can roast those thick, purged cubes with garlic and oregano until they caramelize into something incredibly rich. You can actually make a lightened up eggplant parmesan where the vegetable holds its structural integrity and flavor instead of acting as a soggy vehicle for fry oil.
It elevates the ingredient from a chore to a genuine delicacy. When you respect its chemical and physical rules, it rewards you with textures and flavors that are entirely unique in the culinary world.
Food is such a brilliant intersection of chemistry, history, and human connection. When we take the time to prepare an ingredient like the eggplant properly, we aren't just making dinner. We are retracing the steps of ancient Silk Road traders, applying the principles of thermodynamics and deeply nourishing our neural pathways with targeted antioxidants.
It is a remarkable journey, going from the feared mad apple of the Middle Ages to a celebrated cornerstone of global gastronomy.
It really is. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we have a challenge for you. Sometime this week, bypass the usual vegetables at your local market or farm stand. Seek out an eggplant variety you've never worked with before.
Highly recommend the Thai ones if you can find them.
Yes. Or find a long, delicate Japanese eggplant or a vibrant graffiti variety. Take it home, slice it up, and physically apply that salt purge technique. Give it 30 minutes to achieve that isotonic balance, pat it aggressively dry, and pan-sear it in high-quality olive oil. Witness how the geometry of the plant changes in the pan.
It completely reframes how you view the vegetable. Anyone who executes that method for the first time experiences a legitimate culinary revelation.
They really do. But before we sign off, there's one final, provocative thought I want to leave you with to mull over on your own. We talked about the wild, uncultivated ancestors of this plant originating in ancient India and China, and how the Italians believed it caused actual insanity because of how strange and intensely bitter it was.
The sheer level of defensive toxicity in those early varieties must have been staggering to prompt that kind of cultural reaction.
It really makes you wonder about the evolutionary arms race of the botanical world. Like, was that intense mouth-puckering bitterness the exact same bitterness we use osmotic pressure to draw out today, a highly evolved natural defense mechanism?
Oh, it almost certainly was.
Right. Was the wild eggplant simply trying to protect its seeds from being consumed by early herbivores? It took human farmers thousands of years of painstaking selective breeding to finally dismantle that chemical defense system and turn a weaponized berry into food.
We engaged in a centuries-long biological war with a plant's defense mechanisms. And ultimately, through sheer culinary stubbornness, we won.
We won the war, and our prize is that incredible steaming dish of moussaka sitting by the Mediterranean. The next time you sit down to a meal like that, you'll know the exact historical, botanical, and thermodynamic journey it took to get to your plate. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you on the next one.